Welcome to this session on lessons learned on COVID-19. So I am your moderator. My name is Ravi Kiran. I am the co-founder and director for TodoBuddy. This session is brought to you by TodoBuddy Limited and Learn to Lead. Today we have 4 speakers on the panel. So about the TodoBuddy, this is a online platform which is working with the schools and parents in assessing and finding the learning difficulties and finding the gaps and then helping them. This is an AI-based platform and available from www.todobuddy.com. So TodoBuddy do conduct weekly championships to compete across the globe. It happens every Sunday evening, 7:30 p.m. India time. Of course, it reflects to all the other time zones. And TodoBuddy has presence in UAE, India, and UK. They just started stepping into Germany as well. That's about TodoBuddy. So as I said, we have panel has 4 people today. So the first speaker is Dilip Kumar, who is a principal in Meghalaya for CMCL Vidyabharati. And the next speaker we have is Hema Surupaneni, who is a principal for Epistomo Global School. She is based in Hyderabad. And third speaker we have today is Miss Gurleen Coker, who is based in Chandigarh. She is a international psychologist, and I will get into detailed description little later, just before her session. And the last speaker we have today is Harshia Afsar. She is based in Hyderabad. She is mainly coming from educational background and educational and entrepreneurship. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, perfect. So now I would like to switch to Arshia, who is based in Hyderabad. Let me just introduce her. She is a co-founder for Learn to Lead Private Limited, and she was also founder in Iris Florets and Shakalya Academy. She was also former director for Bachpan Schools and Academic Heights Public School, and she is also a founder and director in Artha Creative Service. And she has various titles, honestly. I mean, she is a territory head for Telangana ECA, and she also have accreditations. She has been the education entrepreneur for 2015, and she is also a businesswoman for the year of 2017. To me, Arshia looks more like a serial entrepreneur. So I hand over to you, Arshia.
Thank you so much, Ravi. I'd also like to thank Ranjit, who is the behind the scenes force right now, and the entire team of TodoBuddy for giving me this opportunity to share space with such an illustrious panel. I've listened to them for the last almost more than 30 minutes, I think almost 45 minutes. And I'm supremely grateful for you guys to give me this honor to be on this panel right now. For example, for Dilip, when he started with concentrating on social emotional well-being, I honestly love that was also part of something I was going to touch upon. And Hema, I am not going to forget the term where you used be a warrior. As a leader, I think that is the best thing to look up to for the rest of your team. You are a warrior for them, and the way that you have listed down everything that you're doing for your own school, you do sound like one. So kudos to you for that. And Gurleen, what can I say? I mean, absolutely fantastic. You have touched upon a lot of other topics as well, whether it was unemployment and it was, the other crisis that the world is facing right now. And I'm really thankful and grateful that you did touch upon these as well, though most of us have concentrated on the educational aspect. For me, basically, March 2020 will forever be known as it will forever be known as the month where the education community came to a complete standstill. The doors were closed. With over 185 countries closed down, 90% of the world's students were out of school and university. So the problem here was the speed of these closures and the rapid move to distance learning has allowed basically very little time for planning for a proper education strategy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list down the challenges in very short and simple terms and tell you the learnings that we've got from these challenges. So challenge number 1 was a school's sustainability came into question. Now, I know the esteemed panelists, they do come from, schools that have been able to manage what they have been able to manage, but there are many around the country. In fact, the most percentage of them where they haven't been able to do this. So the first challenge was that the type of education that we were imparting now needed remodeling. The modern education now seemed to fall pale in front of the strong Indian traditional education systems, which, by the way, before the Britishers came to us, we were the leaders in that. After they came and went, we all are still following the same line. Ek aage, uske piche, ek, uske piche, ek, uske piche. Ek. You take the first right turn and your class comes. But because our teacher told us we need to go straight, take a U-turn, take a left, and then right, we do that still. But these guys, they went back, and now all of them are talking about the Gurukuls and our system of learning. So that will be the first challenge that we have faced. The second one is, what will the future look like? With limited resources, the liability, the risks involved. When I'm talking about this, I'm talking about, of course, the financial aspect. Now, the learnings from this has made all schools basically reorganize their priorities in terms of income expenditure. They have also further learned whether their infrastructure stands or not, whether they provide high-tech on-campus facilities or not. The teachers, and I will repeat this, the teachers will always be their main source of imparting knowledge and, quite frankly, their main source of generating income. Here, they have realized that investment in training their teachers, keeping them up to date with the latest education trends, is going to be now the new essential for schools. Earlier, it was teacher trainings 4-5 a year. May, June, in fact, just the first 2 weeks would be this crux of teacher trainings happening. It's not going to be that anymore. It's going to completely change. These amazing teachers are themselves realizing that from, like I mentioned, from those modern educational techniques, we're moving towards the beautiful Indian learnings. Our Gurukuls will now become the examples for the rest of the world, and we will remember this phase as testimony to that. The next challenge I'm going to touch upon is distance learning is impersonal. There is very limited exchange of positive energy during online classes. Now, Gurleen will definitely agree with me that when you are sitting in front of someone and not on the phone or on the internet, there is a sort of positive energy, a vibe that happens between two people that is missing. Children are feeling disconnected. The bigger challenge has now become the social, emotional well-being of the children. The absence of even the physical materials and tools for teaching has affected the quality of the education that is being imparted. Now, the learnings from these that I've quoted, the wonderful blended learning that everybody is talking about, now is being tried, tested, and increasingly used. Teachers have started to innovate and experiment with these online tools and may want to continue online pedagogies as a result of this. They used to be very, very reluctant. No, hum ye nahi karenge. No, that's for the computer teacher only. That is for the computer department only. Now that will change. A beautiful mix of classroom teaching and online teaching will help achieve new heights. Now that is really exciting. This crisis can now help us come together across borders and boundaries. We need to take this as an opportunity for the education sector to unite, forge connections across countries and continents, and truly share what works in a global way. I don't think prior to this crisis, we've been able to do this completely and wholeheartedly. We will miss a big opportunity if we don't try this now. A major concentration is now being paid to the mind wellness of a child, staff, and families as such, through yoga, meditation, music, and dance. I, in fact, had a storytelling session in Srinagar with children from Kashmir between the age group of 3 to 5. They were dancing, I was jumping, and they were jumping. It was a fantastic experience. Now, this laid down the foundation for the next 15 minutes of my storytelling, because their mind and their body was now ready for me. So adding a personal touch by talking to each and every child will go a long way, a long, long way. So one teacher, 20 children, 30 children, 40 children, no difficult task. Now, the next challenge. Educators are overwhelmed and unsupported to do their jobs well. This is what the whole COVID thing started as. The lack of time to prepare has left them not completely equipped with the necessary skills and material to do so. Now, the learnings from this are the quality online teaching and learning materials are better than before. They're better curated and they're now being widely used. The already wealth of knowledge available online is seeing a bigger increase in quality and innovative content to be used for distance teaching. Fantastic sessions are being held. I myself have been part of many webinars, which are providing great opportunity to educators to sit at home, learn new skills and better their existing skills. Now, this is definitely a learning and a wonderful opportunity. Educator collaboration has grown. Now, what we are doing today and what ToDoBuddy has done for all of us today is exactly that. This is educator collaboration. All of us listening to each other, our ideas, the people who are listening to us, apart from the panelists here, they are getting ideas from all of us. So the educator collaboration has grown and has helped to improve learning at an exponential rate in just 2 months. The best storytellers for preschoolers, the best professor at Newton Physics, the best child psychologists are now available online to help the children. Teachers are now looking beyond the regular classroom to be innovative with their teachings. They are ensuring that their teaching and their imparting of knowledge is now very engaging. So the key word and the mantra has now become engaging classrooms, engagement activities. In fact, we have had various seminars on this. So teachers are realizing a class what used to happen? 45 minutes class, 40, 30 minutes class, the teacher would go on, at least most of them would go on and on and on, and the class would end. Now, most of them would listen, most of them would be looking outside, thinking of what they're going to eat today, the weekend is coming, where they're going to go out with their family. So the children had all these things. But now the attention is on engaging those children, because now the parents are online, so they are watching, everybody is watching each other. So the teachers are also well aware that if they are not engaging the children while they are conducting these online classes, it is going to be impossible to continue. I myself, when I have sessions with little children, in a matter of 15 minutes, apart from my core subject, I include 12 engagement activities. When I'm having classes with the primary children, the 5th and 6th standard children, I ensure that during that session, my engagement, online engagement and live activities are at least 3 to 4. And then I give them engagement activities later as well. So now that has become a perfect learning for us. The next challenge, the protection and safety of children, has become harder to safeguard. Now, we all know about the boys' locker room, and we know what has happened there. A lot has to do with how we ensure the safety and security of the children online. A lot has to be done to ensure that children don't fall prey to any dangerous threats online while this learning process is going on. So what has happened from this, the learnings from this are, all online apps and platforms are now undertaking checks, fixes, new protection methods, safety procedures to ensure that they are up to date, and primary attention is being paid to ensure that safeguarding the children's security and safety is on the top, right on the top, because any lapse in this is going to now become a national issue. Earlier, this was quite on the wraps. Things used to happen, children used to go online, lot used to happen, but now everything is under the radar. So this is a fantastic, fantastic opportunity for us to tighten the screws. Challenge 5. School closures will now widen the equity gaps. Not all children have access to online devices like smartphones, laptops, tablets, etc. Children who can afford these devices will continue to receive the online and uninterrupted learning, while the ones that do not have the capacity to buy these will continue to lose out on these essential months of learning. Now, what are the learnings from this? We are now moving, and I have heard the government talk about this, and I'm supremely happy. We are now moving towards making content and teaching available on various platforms like TV, radio, and I'm sure most of you have heard of the beautiful innovation that they're going to come up with for radio, for CBSE schools, that learning does not stop for everyone. Anyone and everyone has the opportunity to learn. The teaching systems should now move towards being a more inclusive atmosphere and world in every sense of the word. Challenge 6. Schools and parents seem to be at a tug of war with each other for the fees to be paid and the disagreements regarding online teaching too. That brings me to my topic of concentration and interest. And that is because I've been part of a lot of parent forums, me and my partner both. the solution for most school problems quoted above, everything that we have talked about, lies with a strong parent-school collaboration. Now we can all admit that parents have become a major part of the learning process. That is why the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear the phrase parent-school collaboration is the word trust. Bharosa. My company Learn to Lead, where my partner Kausar Sayed, who is also the secretary for the Telangana Parents Association, we conducted a survey to understand what the parents were feeling about this whole situation. So today we all have talked about what we all are feeling, the beautiful thought processes we have. We wanted to know what happened from this side, since we had a very close connect with them as it is. So what they came up with regarding the education and the lockdown, we found out we had 1,058 respondents, mainly from Mumbai and Telangana. 95.6% of the parents said that they were scared to send their children back to school post the lockdown, even if the government said it was okay, due to the lack of communication from the schools regarding their complete plans post-lockdown. They were genuinely upset at the absence of clarity regarding when to expect the reopening, exact steps that individual schools will take to ensure the safety and security of the children. Furthermore, more than 90% of the parents said they had no problem in paying the fees, which has become like a major headline in the entire country. I understand that even on our panel, we have people coming from one of the top schools in the country, and there it is not so much a problem, but most of the country is facing this problem. So they basically said, we are ready to pay the fees. They only wanted a clear breakup of the fee structure during the lockdown, complete clarity regarding meal payments, transport fees, uniform, and books. They also wanted options regarding any relaxations that can be given in the fees. Next, they believed that they were not given a proper orientation as to how online classes will run, how it's going to begin, why is it beginning, what is their role, and defining it completely to them. Holding not one, but a couple of orientations to make them understand how this entire process will happen. And thus, various technical questions that they had were left unanswered, which led to further confusion. They quoted this lack of proper communication from schools as being a roadblock to achieve complete success in online teaching and learning. Don't you all think that just as teachers are being appreciated, applauded for their relentless work for the children, we call them the COVID warriors, we call them as part of the frontliners as well, the parents are also struggling to adjust to the erratic timings, sharing of devices. Now with that 1 or 2 devices, everybody has to go online at a particular time. Working from home, managing a whole new world of technology and learning, taking care of their family at home, increased workload because of no hired help. And I'm sure the 3 women on this panel are also well aware of it. And I'm sure the men on the panel are also being very helpful to the women in their house. We all know what's happening in our house right now. But still, they have managed to support this. Shouldn't that be recognized? Shouldn't that be applauded as well? After conducting this survey, it occurred to me that the age-old habit of schools to have a one-way communication with parents needs to change. The parent-school collaboration now needs a makeover more than ever. Parent-school collaboration has been mostly limited to involving the parents in celebrations, monthly PTMs, and in some schools, parent-school association meetings once a month. We need to look beyond the table. We need, you know what table I'm talking about? The table that comes between the teacher and the parent. I call it the table between the school and the parent, where the teacher sits across the parents to discuss one common interest, the child. Now is the time to invite that parent to sit next to us, side by side, not across. It is time to realize that we need to make the parent-school associations very strong, empowering them to be a part of every decision making. In fact, every weekly parent-school association meeting, the children's point of view on various topics through student councils must be taken. These must be forming a part of the agenda of these meetings too. It is now time to realize that we have a stronger personal bond with the parents at school. We really need that. Today there would have been no us versus them, we versus them, if this bond was that strong. In fact, I will go as far as to say that when most state government issued an order that said that schools mustn't pressurize the parents to pay fees, my only thought was, if only the schools had already had a strong collaboration with the parents and an open communication channel, even the government wouldn't need to interfere on the topic of fees or anything else. I have seen on various forums where parents are lashing out on schools. Schools are schools are requesting the parents, all this wouldn't have happened. They would have just sorted out their own issues just like a family does, because we are a big family. Here, I would like to point out that just as schools need some sort of relief measures like special loans, asking parents to pay maybe 2 or 3 years fees with a good discount, or other financial help measures, the schools also need to show empathy towards understanding the problems of parents as well, especially the ones that are in some sort of distress. A clear conversation between these two parties has to come into play, which can solve a lot of problems. Explaining to the parents that schools are not looking at profit this year, but just sustenance. Giving options of monthly fee payments, clear breakup of the different heads of fees need to be clearly communicated to the parents, not through common circulars, mind you, but more personally. So according to me, the biggest lesson learned from the education community during COVID-19 is the need for better parent-school collaboration. So something I've written myself, I'll end with that. When children are a priority, parent-school collaboration seems to be the only strategy to move forward towards positive change and make it a reality. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being so patient and listening to me as I was the last speaker.
Thank you, Arshia. I was about to say that, we are almost running past. So thanks a lot. It is really informative. I mean, you have really touched upon the points. I can't go one after the other, but one thing what really touched me was the communication part. When things are really uncertain, it's very natural that an event happened, and there are always positive outcomes and the negative outcomes, and there are people standing on this side and some people are standing on the other side, and definitely communication will surely help many part of the story. It could be stakeholders, it could be principals, teachers, students, and that's quite a good point, Arshia, you have made upon. So I would like to thank all of the panel. Before I end the conversation, there is one thing common in all the speakers is your energy for the children development, and all of you have unique profiles, and I'm really honored today to host you. It's really my pleasure. So let's look at the lessons from this session, all the feedback from all the participants. Do we have one more follow-up, or it really depends on the feedback? And many thanks, and thanks a lot. Bye for now. Take care, all of you.
And Mr. Ravi, the whole To-Do Buddy team, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hi, all speakers. I loved your talk, Mr. Dilip, Arshia, and Gurleen. Loved your insight. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Stay connected. Stay blessed, everyone.
And To-Do Buddy, keep going up with the good work.
Yeah,
That is
sure.
what I'd like to say. In times like this, we need platforms like yours.
Thank you, Arshia. Sure, we'll do our best. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.